Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's the 14th of May, 2020. We're working live, and welcome to our springtime headcount session, this series of meetings to brainstorm and to visualize the future, the nearest future of the event industry. Today's session is called Russia Open to the World, and why Russia is to be opted for as a favorable site. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Дамы и господа, доброе утро. У нас 14 мая, 11
Russia, as per
мы работаем в прямом эфире.
ICCA destination ranking for 2019. Russia holds 35th position, which is about 7 points up compared with results for 2018. Even though 2018 gave us the World Cup, which was hosted by Russia. And Russia held 42nd position in that ranking for 2018. In the same ranking for Europe, Russia has ranked top 20, which is an excellent result for Europe considering how many European countries competed. Now, does that high score derive from the efforts and the diligent work of Russia Convention Bureau and its members? This is exactly what we are going to look at during this session. These and other questions. Russia Convention Bureau, together with ENITED Business Events, have developed an international destination marketing strategy for Russia to promote the country in the global market as a favorable destination and site for international business events. And we are going to put that strategic report under a spotlight and see what has been achieved, where we are as of today, and what is there to be done in the near future. Now, we begin our session. I'm your moderator, Timothy Okrev, founding head of the RPK Group, communication group of companies. We are supported by technical partner Data Forum. We are also supported by Russian translation company, provider of simultaneous interpretation, and we are being helped by our ambassador Russia, Vladimir Demidov. We are also supported by our information partner, Event Live, reputable resource for professionals of event industry. And I have the great pleasure of introducing today's panel.
Нашим техническим партнером является Data Forum.
Alexei Kalachёv, head of the Russia Convention Bureau, who I'm going to give the floor just in a minute. Henrik von Arnold, partner, ENITED Business Events, a partner of that company. Ivo Franchit, CEO, partner of ENITED Business Events. Alexander Porodnov, head of investment promotion agency of Sverdlovsk region, and Pavel Mayorov, director general of the Corporation for Development, Krasnodar region. Now we have three channels through which you can ask your questions. One of them is our internal chat. You have probably received the link. The other one is our page on the Facebook and our YouTube channel. Okay, Alexei. Please go ahead and set up us and for our viewers and listeners a wider context. I have a great pleasure of introducing you once again and giving you the floor. Over to you, Alexei.
Yeah. Thank you, Timofey. Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. You know, guys, it's like a traditional already. Every Thursday, we meet our friends and we meet our partners online. It's a new format for us as well, like for everybody. And it's a really great pleasure to have you all as speakers today. You know, last year we began our project of marketing strategy creation together with ENITED Business Company, headed by Ivo and Henrik. And, you know, on the On the one hand, we have started our activities long before, actually, since the Russian Convention Bureau was established. But on the other hand, as for international markets and our development and global cooperation, we did it often spontaneously. And in addition, no doubt, we needed some right goals and some implementation plan through the eyes of international experts, through the eyes from foreigners. And thanks to you, we got the very useful and significant result, which includes some concrete steps for our further activities. And before this pandemic, we consider it an opportunity to introduce the marketing strategy, this result, to all of our members and partners. But life is, you know, makes its own adjustments. And so according to the circumstances, today we do it through online. To my mind, we got a very worked and started strategy which support us to move forward more intensively. But I guess our partners, Ivor and Henrik, will tell us about it with more details. And in this regard, I'd like to give the floor Henrik and Ivor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I'll ask Ivor to present the presentation.
Yes, I will. Thank you.
So good morning to you all as well from Vienna, where we both are. And we are absolutely thrilled to be here today. I have my own personal experience from Russia, not many, but I've been to Moscow, St. Petersburg, and Sochi the last time. And it has been a pleasure, and it has been a pleasure working with the Russian Convention Bureau and also with the three regions, Krasnodar and the Ural Convention Bureau and the Irkutsk, on doing this strategy. And I would like to start with say, stay strong, guys. We are all in the same boat, and it will be over. One day it will be over. But stay strong and stay happy and use this time in a good way. And we might come back to that later on.
Thank you, Henrik. Also from my side, it's my pleasure to join you virtually in a virtual space and hopefully share with you a summary of that report, of that project Alex mentioned. We had the pleasure to work with the team, with Alex and Alexei and the team of the Russia Convention Bureau. And today, as I said, we have slotted about 30 minutes where we really want to highlight those key elements, those strong messages, and obviously also steps to be considered for the journey of Russia, the destination Russia in the business events industry. And I think, as Alexei already said, I think you are definitely on the right track. The journey continues, and regardless of whatever challenges we are facing at the moment, and my personal approach to that, to the situation today, where there are challenges, there are opportunities. And again, we will come back later to that. So this is a moving forward, looking forward approach also today. Very briefly, I will start, and just for everybody to know, Henrik and I kind of share this presentation, so we're going to switch back and forth by just simply then hand over verbally to Henrik and vice versa, so you know who is presenting what. This was basically the project title. We were asked by Alexei and Approach and his team to help them to review, to take that existing strategy, so to speak, to the next level with the focus on the internationality of our business with the global perspective. Very briefly, just one slide, just to showcase, as again, Alexei already said, it was very detailed, very in-depth analysis, research, development strategies, trying to pinpoint obviously the current status, and then moving forward to say what are those next steps, how can the destination Russia become more visible, more successful on a global marketplace in our industry. You see here very briefly only that step 2 and 3 were kind of done with a focus on 3 selected regions, first selected regions, which is Irkutsk, Krasnodar, and Sverdlovsk. And pleasure to have Alexander and Pablo as well joining us today, because there we tried to somehow understand better the diversity of Russia as a destination. Then we moved on 4, 5, and 6 again to be, as I said, as practical as possible, to really talk about what are those implementation steps, what is the content, and what are the timelines. Today's summary is, as I said, focusing on those 6 points. We try, as I said, within the next 25 minutes to cover them. By all means, if somebody feels like, okay, that was not detailed enough, or I want to know more about it, we do have that Q&A session afterwards, as Timothy also mentioned, so we can then go further into the details, and we are both, Henrik and I, of course, available to answer all your questions. Starting off with the global business market. It's basically a snapshot at the moment. Of course, we're talking about a very unique situation we are in, but this perspective or this analysis I provide today is more on a consistent basis. So we see that our industry has been steadily growing and continuously growing globally over the last decades. A lot of statistics, ICA and others are the proof for that. So our industry is strong and getting stronger. Pumps on the road as we have today with a COVID-19 situation, or before there were other crises, are yes, an obstacle, but have not diminished the potential of our industry. It has become, and I can say that truly over the last decade, really an integral part of any corporate marketing and live communication strategy. So events, business events, are simply a fixed part now of any idea or any strategy, any concept corporations have when it comes to market and communicate their brand, their products, their services. As well, it has been always a key role in the knowledge and information sharing world of the associations. Their purpose is to create, to share knowledge for a specific area, for a specific segment, for a specific topic. And business events have always been and will continue to be one of the major tools. It is become more and more, and this is what we both, Henrik and I, like very much and see, that it has become also a driver for destination development beyond the tourism aspect. Many destinations, and the 3 regions, for example, are a very good example now how business events can move a destination forward, can accelerate the development, which is not only counted in room nights and visitors and income created, but goes really beyond that. And last but not least, I said it already, it is a very resilient industry. Yes, we have a challenge now, but we will overcome it, because simply the need for our industry as a connector, as a facilitator, as an enhancer of other industries is and will continue to be very important. Here, very few, 2 slides on more details. We looked at the target audience. We did a certain segmentation in the report, which obviously in our industry is done majorly by these 3 elements, by clients, the buyer categories. Mostly there are corporations, associations, who are the event owner, who are the initiator of an event. And the third part are the so-called intermediaries, which are agencies. In our professional language, we love our alphabet soups. So there are PCOs and DMCs and all kind of agencies who are these intermediaries between the event owner and obviously the place, the venue, the destination where this business event takes place. You can also segment them by industries and business sectors, and of course by geography, but that's a natural thing. Again, our industry acts and behaves a little bit different than probably other industries, specifically differently, and I will enhance and emphasize that probably a few times during today's presentation and talks. we are, yes, part of the tourism industry, but not really. We are connected because we're using the same industry, the same infrastructure, excuse me, the same necessary hygienic factors, as we call them, but our industry needs much more than that. So we have defined the different target audience when it comes to the motivation part. So what does a client really need from us? What does a client really want from us? And we said expects, likes, and needs from a destination, from all stakeholders involved. The hygienic factors are clear, which is, as I said, the basic infrastructure, accessibility, spaces, capacities in a destination, certain basic knowledge about our industry, and so forth. But that's really only the basic. This is not where you start really becoming, making a difference to maybe other destinations. The client likes convenience. That means in the very complex world of organizing events, he needs and looks for and likes very much and very smooth and efficient way from the very starting point of creation to the very end point of the execution of an event. And last but not least, he needs motivators. Motivators meaning that not only provide the services he needs, but goes that extra step. Be a facilitator, adding value, content to the event from a destination perspective. So these are the three elements we consider important and vital for being successful as a destination when you need to understand what the client really looks for. We just summarized it in certain bottom lines. You can see the corporations, obviously for them, any corporate event is measured by creating the brand experiences, the brand engagement for the corporation. The international word is brand love, for example, and some global companies really measure that. They call it the brand love factor. So this is what a key purpose for corporations is. Secondly, associations, we said they are obviously driving their knowledge sharing and creation element with business events, but, and also very important, the event itself is a very big financial factor for association. As we know, this is a quote non-profit approach. So any income generated for following and advocating their cause and their topics needs also certain financial resources. So business events are very much into providing that financial income, the revenue for associations to do their job. And obviously intermediary agencies are very focused when it comes to choose destinations. They are, as intermediaries are, looking for a best price, best service relationship, and obviously choose destinations where they know there's a certain reliability of delivering services, because they are depending on others. They are just, as I said, the intermediaries. So this is a little bit to understand the three different buyers categories in a nutshell. Henrik, to you.
Thank you. Going from the global overview into looking at Russia, and what we could find out that actually Russia, which is a huge country, is more like a continent than one country. But anyway, Russia is definitely internationally defined and recognized, and mainly when it comes to the business event industry through some particular cities. That's Moscow, St. Petersburg, Sochi, Ekaterinburg, etc. The brand of Russia as a country is maybe more a perception than reality, because Russia is so diverse and it's so different in itself. So talking about Russia, it's depending on where you've been in Russia, you have different views on Russia. Russia has definitely a huge potential for growth and a huge potential for development within the business event industry. In particular, the destinations that are already taking a first step or second step in establishing themselves as business events destinations. And we, I think Timothy already mentioned in the beginning that 2019 Russia was number 35 worldwide when it comes to hosting international association meetings with a special criteria. and number 20 in Europe. And a country as Russia with the possibilities should be much higher up, and we'll come back to that later. Ivo, thank you. What do you have then as a competitive advantage? First of all, you have one major global economy. You're a part of, you have a big economy, you're a big trade partner for many countries. As we said before, it is a diverse country. Climate, experiences, culture, food, and how you behave. There are, both on national level and on regional level, pretty good political support for the development and growth of this business events industry. In most of the cities when we looked at, have a good experience and good infrastructure to handle global and large-scale events. And I think the major breakthrough was the FIFA a couple of years ago, when you really made the step into global events, not even the business events, but global events. And that really had an impact, not on just on the country, Russia, but on the world, how you did that, because it was a success. Not just for you, it was a success for the audience. You have a large number of universities, which is crucial when it comes to association meetings. And in some parts of Russia, you already have the e-visa system, and we are looking forward. I think it's announced in 2021, is that right? For the e-visa all through Russia. And that also makes, of course, a huge change for foreigners coming to Russia and being able to, in an easy way, take part in different events. You have a National Convention Bureau, a young one, 2 years old, 3 years old, that has a strong determination to change things, to do things, and to support the development in Russia. And finally, you also have a cost advantage in large parts of Russia. There are Moscow and St. Petersburg is quite expensive when it comes to accommodation anyway. But in the part of the rest of Russia, it's an absolutely cost advantage. Please. Competitors to Russia. Now, on the corporate market, it is, of course, destinations with the similar industries and business sectors that you work with. And also, it is, when you look at geography, it is definitely Europe, who is the main corporate market competitor. And for the association market, which is not actually geographically, it should not be geographically based, but if you look at it today, we say it's Germany, France, United Kingdom, and maybe Sweden as a small country, but with a kind of same state of mind in Europe that comes. And if you go beyond Europe, you of course have the other countries mentioned on the slide.
Thank you. And then I will take over again and now come to a little bit more closer look into the report, into the findings, into the suggestions we have provided after going through the process of both understanding and seeing the current and future developments of the global business events industry and the markets, as well as understanding whether the destination Russia, in all its diversity, in all its scope and scale, as Henrik already mentioned, is currently on its development journey, and accordingly we have developed a few key elements, key suggestions, and I summarized them, or we summarized them here. I think it's very important to understand when you go out and compete on a market, and when you want to offer your unique proposition, what you can offer as a destination, that you have to understand you're not playing in the same role or in the same league as many of the destinations which are simply smaller by scope and scale. Henrik said it already once, it is not a possibility to really market Russia as one country, as one product, and obviously trying to approach the target audiences accordingly. I think it's very important that Russia as such has that advantage, and Henrik mentioned it already, the diversity of regions, of cities, of cultures, of all these elements. So what we said at the basic is that there is a combination to approach that. By one hand, strengthen the brand Russia. We said, as before, there is a more perception of reality, and speak with one voice and one message. That doesn't mean that it has to be only about one country, but it should be something which obviously the Russian Convention Bureau has started, and many of the region has also started to develop, that you need to first make the people understand what the destination brand Russia is about. And that is a network of regions. So basically what you offer the market is not, again, one country, one product, but you can clearly make them understand that your strengths, one of your strengths is that diversity, is that network of regions. And by deep diving into the three regions during our project and our research and our good talks and information exchange we had, it showcased, because these three regions, Irkutsk, Krasnodar and Sverdlovsk, are so diverse and so different when it comes to what their offerings are, where they are stand in their development process of industries, of business sectors, of focuses, and so forth. So I think, excuse me, that's the second important part, is the destination Russia is a network of regions. And the third part, essential in general, to understand if I want to do something, I need adequate resources to create the results you are all aiming for. And I think this is also something where there is in the regions we have reviewed, we talked to, you also, as Henrik mentioned, there is a very strong support, a very strong positive engagement to provide better and more adequate resources, because only with that you will be able at the end to also implement those steps and be successful on this development journey. When we talked about obviously a certain rethinking, defining a vision and a mission, and for the destination Russia through the eyes of a Russian Convention Bureau. And we talked about goals and tasks as a next step, as you do when you build a strategy now internationally. And here just a very few highlights about the goals, where we defined them together. We kind of updated them, because obviously there has been already a good work done by the Russian Convention Bureau when they started their work and basically started their journey. But important for us is, when you set goals, it needs to meet certain criteria, and it needs to be in a certain way also achievable. It needs to be adaptable. It needs to be manageable, measurable. It needs mostly a time frame from 3 to 5 years, and you need to prioritize them. Again, just by defining a goal, one thing, you can be very ambitious, but you can also overreach. So it needs to be achievable, and it needs to be adaptable, because we all know a strategy written today might be already need to be changed tomorrow, and COVID-19 is unfortunately the perfect example for that. So all these elements are important when you define goals. Secondly, deriving from the goals, you come into the task. So how do I achieve those goals? And we again group them together in 4 areas where your focus should be also over the next steps in your journey, over the next stops in your journey. It's about the marketing communication efforts. It's about collaboration within a destination with all the involved stakeholders. It's about education and knowledge sharing. Okay, that's something which again is one of the hygienic factors we talked about before when we defined the client. He simply expects that you also know what he is talking about or she is talking about. And business standards, the same thing here. A client comes, an international client comes simply with a certain perception or a certain expectation when it comes to delivering services, on what standards, on what qualifications and certifications. So these are elements of the 4 vision, mission, goals, and tasks definition. we looked then obviously what are the key key target markets for you for now and in the near future. And we defined them again separately in corporations and associations as being defined as the two biggest buying categories as internationally seen. For corporations, and Henrik mentioned it already, is very important basically where you have strong industries and business sectors in your countries, where your countries might be a world leader in a certain business in a certain sector. So corporations obviously follow their own worlds of trade, of production, of services, whatever it might be. And accordingly, we just defined here a few areas, both geographically and also as industry sectors, where Russia has an extremely strong position. And that would be your entrance ticket, so to speak, or your easier entrance in also attracting business events from these countries and also or related to these industries. Henrik?
Thank you. Looking into the association market, it is more based on how to approach the associations and where they are actually having their HQs, their headquarters. And the first slide here, or the first table, shows where the headquarters are located. And you see that in headquarters in Europe, they have 5,500 events per year in Europe, and organized worldwide 2,000, and organized in Europe 2,400, organized in Asia Europe 50. So, and then you see the rest of the countries, meaning that you have the major part of the headquarters, association headquarters, actually based in Europe. About, we say about a little bit more than 50-55% of all the international association headquarters, scientific, trade, scientific and trade headquarters are based in Europe. And there are mainly 5 hubs for these, and that's Brussels, that's Paris, that's Amsterdam, that's Geneva, and Berlin, who actually are hosting these headquarters. So the message from that, go for Europe, and the main hubs, concentrate for that. If you look at the segments where, and it's important when you try to approach an association, that you have someone within the Russian society who is actually active in that association to be more successful. It's easier to come to an association saying, hey guys, we would love to host you in Russia in a couple of years. Here you have a member of your association, or maybe a board member of your association, who will be a spokesperson for us together with our convention bureau in the region or in the country. And we looked into that as well. And we found out in Europe, there are 225 agriculture associations or meetings, and and 56 of them, Russia has a representative. And again, you can follow Africa, 30 meetings, 0 representative, Turkey, 3, 0, India, 2 and 1. And again, then follows with the food processing industry, hospitality and tourism, IT communications. You see where you are strong in manufacturing, there are 132 associations, and in 125 of them, you have Russian representatives. So that's what we'd like to see, where to focus your first steps on trying to get more association meetings to Russia. Next. And then the next step was to look into the 3 regions we work. And looking into infrastructure, looking into the geographical positioning of the region, and what your previous experience or previous experience are, and we said that Irkutsk are mainly today it's mainly suitable for corporate business events for up to 200 to 300 persons, and we think that the incentive market, which is a kind of award, incentive market is the award for people who have made a good job, and doing that for forming groups for a maximum of about 100 participants. That is the ideal for Irkutsk. It doesn't say it can't host other kind of meetings, business events as well, but this is what we think you should focus on. For both Krasnodar and Sverdlovsk regions, the market development strategy is there. It's association business for up to 2,000 people. And doing that for 2,000 people, you cover, I would say, 97, 98% of all the international meetings there are. You know that 80% of all association meetings in the world is below 800 people. So going up to 2,000, the market is free, I would say. And for the corporate business side, it's also 2,000 participants. And if you look at the incentive event formats, about 200 people. That is the positioning of the respective regions. Over to you, Ivo.
Thank you very much, Henrik. If I may add how we came to the so-called different recommendation when it comes to destination positioning, and there are obviously several models, strategic development models for applying a quote product and market mix. We applied the Ansoff Matrix, which is an established one. Actually, it was originally created by a Russian American called Igor Ansoff. And what he does, he basically looks at the products and the markets and both defines them as existing or new. And with this matrix, you reach at the end 4 different strategies. One is the market penetration strategy. The second one, the development strategy. And then you come to the third step where you start by already have penetrated and have developed the market. You start to develop a new product accordingly. So then you have a product development. And the last part is when you go into the diversification, but just a little bit of theory on that. So we chose to use that to define for the 3 regions this destination positioning. Now coming to the strategy implementation, of course, everything which you write on a piece of paper, or actually several pages of paper we created together, it is nice, but obviously, how do I implement that? How do I get that really, so to speak, working? And how do I get it on the road? And again, highlighting out of the whole recommendations and points we made and suggestions we made, I'd like to highlight 3. First of all, we need to really also understand that this strategic implementation, and to be successful, you always need obviously not only your goal and your end, so to speak, of the journey, but you need directions on that journey, during that journey. And for us as a destination, we call them the 5 Ps of destination marketing, and I will come in a slide to it in a moment. Secondly, obviously, to look at what kind of tools and channels of marketing can I apply or choose to use, again, reaching out those key markets we have defined before, and of course, measuring, which is important to know how am I doing along the way, the steps, the key milestones we need to measure. And so accordingly, you need to set certain key performance indicators, the famous KPIs. How are we doing with time, Timothy? Are we okay? I assume so.
We are still fine. Yeah, we're still fine. We still have 5 minutes to go. So Ivo,
perfect.
The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Again, here I'll just very briefly the 5 Ps as we define them. It's positioning, promoting, presenting, policy making, and product service development in the destination. And we kind of translated them into the market or the approach to the market, which is what you promise of a destination. How do you make your destination more visible? The next step is the awareness. Then a very important part which has been created when we talked about destination development beyond also tourism, is how do I create a destination people want to come, not only for an event, but really want to live. So placemaking is very important nowadays, because even a visitor or a participant to a business event wants to feel the authenticity of the destination, but not so much and not only by their hospitality offering, but simply by being a destination, a place where he or she feels part of it, integrates, gets a snapshot of what this is, life is about in these places. And then, of course, when we talked about product and service development, we talk about destination development in our industry. Again, here, I know it's a chart. I know we normally shouldn't do this, but I wanted to have it, and I think it will be shared anyway afterwards to everybody of you, our presentation. Here, we just wanted to show you how we defined marketing tools and channels, according to, again, the three major buyer categories: corporate clients, association clients, and intermediary clients. And we gave them a certain rating, a scale from 1 to 5, where 5 is the best, the highest grade. And then we looked at tools and channels on the left-hand side. So basically all those where we consider a 4 or a 5, which is the highest grade, should be considered as channels, as a mix of tools and channels to achieve that. And last but not least, of course, the famous KPIs. Again, we have defined together in details with these 5 Ps, with these 5 destination marketing tasks you have, a certain way of measuring. For example, the increased Russians' market share on the international business events market in percentage, improving Russians' positions. We mentioned already, Timothy in the introduction said that you have already taken a first important step. You improved your rankings. You showed that your destination is up and coming, is developing, is become more visible, and people become more aware of it. Then obviously the reaching out to these 3 clients, buyer categories in absolute numbers, expanding the partnership within Russia with key stakeholders, because we all know you will only be successful if you join, if it's a joint effort, if you join forces, so to speak. Extending then obviously the support for developing the regions. We talked about the 3 regions we have been looking into and researching for, showed also certain similarities in their development journey, but also some differences. So obviously that is important. And obviously, again, creating the necessary resources and structures. Henrik, over to you.
Thank you. And what is the role of the Russian Convention Bureau in this? It has a very natural role to play. And of course, one of the most important ones is to strengthen the destination brand, Russia. And leading this job to have one voice and one message vision from Russia, even though you are diverse and have your different regions working hard as well. And that is also one of the tasks, to support the regions, the destinations, to develop their own infrastructure, the way of working with education and help of information and supply with the necessary knowledge about the industry, and helping them in their not maybe the daily work, but setting the standards, helping them to build up the business standards, etc. And finally, become the national business event platform for both external, corporate, association clients, but for you in Russia, being the place where you can actually say, okay, guys, we need this, we have a need for your knowledge, we need your way of opening doors to our clients. And Alexei has been a marvelous good job in ICA, and now is in the board of ICA, which is an absolutely brilliant door opener to the rest of the world, and also showing a face to the world. It's not just a name, but having a face in ICA is priceless to have that. So Russia is off to a good start indeed. It will have, working hard together, having a long-term vision of doing this. This is not a quick fix. We said that before. This takes time, and it takes resources to stay on the track to do this, and have a long-term strategy to be implemented and to be worked out in all their facets. And it needs a joint effort to do this. I would say that is the platform for the future work, to jointly be together, be strong, help each other, reach out to each other, and finding the pleasure in working together. I know destinations are competitors, but they also have a way of working together to strengthen the Russian brand, and then, of course, their own brands in different regions. And we also have recommendations for next steps when it comes to the internal Russian Convention Bureau job, but also how to do it together with the stakeholders in Russia when it comes to education, learning, business standards, and so on. And this is in a very short time trying to conclude what was in this strategy document, which is quite extensive. We of course hope that this strategy, where we looked into 3 particular regions, could be a starting point to look into many other regions in Russia and what are their strengths and weaknesses in the different regions. So that is the final word from our part, and we are happy to answer questions if we can. Thank you very much.
Well, that was great, Ivo and Henrik. Thank you very much indeed for your very informative presentation, but mostly for your excellent report and your help with strategizing for Russia, for its role in the global event industry. We know there is huge potential. We know there is a lot that has been done in the past. We know where we stand today. We know all the obstacles which we will want to discuss, because they have to be echoed once again and again. But before I ask you and Ivo, Henrik, you and Ivo, before I ask you the questions that we have here, I would have to ask Alexei. I've got one question that came through our local chat, admin chat, and it has to do with rationale behind inviting ENITED Business Events to help us with the strategy. You know, an anonymous guest is asking us a question. You must be joking. The foreign company is presenting us our strategy for Russia. Is it a joke? Now, Alexei, what is the rationale behind inviting ENITED Business Events, reputable company as they are, but still a foreign company? Why on earth couldn't we have done that on our own? Tell us.
Could you please repeat, Timofey, because it was the connection was not very stable. Yeah.
Okay. Now, the question that I've got from an anonymous guest asks you to describe rationale behind inviting a foreign company to help us with the strategy for Russia.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for this question. Actually, as you know, maybe not, we began this project, marketing strategy of Russia as a favorable destination of events last year, actually in the beginning of last year. But we finalized it as a domestic market. And as for international market, as I mentioned at the beginning, as I mentioned before, we started this work. We started the cooperation with international associations. We organized some exhibitions at some our Russian Convention Bureau stands at the main exhibitions, IBTN and IMEX. So we cooperated with international audience. But in any case, we understood that times that we needed some good advice from international experts, because we didn't understand these viewpoints and some right goals correctly. And it is very important to get some points of view from abroad, from another side, just not for blah blah blah, just for really implementation, some concrete steps for our further development. Because we actually, on the one hand, we understood that we went to the correct way, but we understood that we needed some advice to look forward more correctly, because we didn't have any good and right experience with that. We are a new players at this market, very new. You have to understand, and everybody understand it. And of course, in this regard, we needed some support from our international experts.
And let's face it, objectively speaking, there are indeed countries and companies with a huge history of success. And why not capitalize on their experience? And that is the answer.
Let me step up just for a little comparison.
Sure.
If I make colleagues. Henrik showed us perfectly that our market is 5,000 headquarters of European companies, which we should be aiming for. So and the answer to that anonymous question is that if you are aiming to get the share of that part of the market, of that big amount of companies or clients which are based in Europe, you want to be using European knowledge and European experience on how to get them. I mean, if you want to sell something to European market, you gotta understand how to sell it to the European clients, and you're not using Russian experience in order to sell something to Europe. So I think that the question is pretty obvious. If you want to get connected with someone abroad, you're using Zoom because everyone's using Zoom right now. You're not using, I don't know, whatever Russian online market is offering, but I mean, the question is pretty obvious for me. The answer is pretty obvious.
Pavel, can I just build on your comment? And even though I'm holding, I'm having Henrik and Eva on hold with further questions, I will ask you a question, which I was going to ask you later on. Now that you've jumped in, please. Russia boasts of a large number of international events, which are, though, ingeniously promoted and well, promoted top down, I would say, and organized mostly by designated operators, reputable designated operators. Clearly, and you've mentioned that Russia is lacking in events organized by international associations. Now, in your view, what would be the practical steps to attract international associations and also to involve other cities of Russia, not just St. Petersburg or Moscow?
Well, if I would be the guy to know the exact answer to that question, I would be sitting on the Henrik's and Eva's place, I guess. But I think that I'm not saying that this is 100% correct answer, but from my perspective, I think that in the real time, personal connection is something that can help us, could be a practical step to get international companies to go. Because from my point of view, in any kind of business or relationships, even though right now we're speaking through online connection, personal acquaintance and personal connection makes changes. So I think that we need to send like marine troops of quotes, marine troops in quotes of ambassadors who will be having personal connections with different types of associations, companies, headquarters of the companies, to get personal contact, to bring people to Russia, to let them know Russia, and that could just by making as much personal contacts as possible can make some change. Because
okay, I take your point. Excellent, thank you, Pavel. Now, Henrik and Henrik, you were going to you had some point of information, yeah?
No, I just want to say I fully agree with you. It is a person-to-person business. This is about relationship. This is about long-time relationships and building trust between people. So definitely, I just support you, Pablo. And this done, what we have done now to the previous question, this strategy has not been, we would not been able to do that without the support from the regions. So I didn't say that before, but thank you very much for the regions who provided us with information, with the discussions, etc., etc. Thank you so much. But,
Henrik and Eva, I really enjoyed the caption on your first slide, "Stay strong," which really echoes today's global appeal, "Stay home." Now, what strengths did Russian Convention Bureau and its members demonstrate in the past 2 years to build on that success in the future? 2 or 3 real strengths, just to summarize them again.
Henrik, you want to go first?
I didn't get. No, I didn't get it. You start, Eva, because I didn't get it.
Oh, okay, good. I mean, obviously, as we have entered, and again, just to add that we never write or create strategies or whatever it is for others. It's always with, and that's a collaborative effort, because we cannot create the authenticity, the services, the way destinations are. So this is something you have that strength. So just as to add on, so what we did, we were helping, kind of developing it further, adding our point of views, and that's it. So it was never writing us for somebody. Talking about, I think definitely what Russia as a destination, and again, the visibility of certain cities, city destinations, Henrik mentioned them before, Moscow, St. Petersburg, Sochi, Ekaterinburg, obviously, over the last 2 years, gained again visibility and created awareness as a destination to come, simply a matter of people getting curious and people hear about. So I think Russia and all the stakeholders involved on this journey so far understood very well, you need that attention. You need to create attention first. Then you create interest, then you create desire, and then you create action, our famous AIDA or AIDA, which I think is a core principle also in our industry. So what happened over the last 2 years, I think, through a more joint effort on an international scale, Russia and its destination have simply become more visible. And only to understand that is already a first important step. Parallel to it, by having references, which obviously on a global scale of events, whether it's FIFA, whether it's Formula One, whether it's the Olympic Games, again, create that attention and that platform where our industry starts to react on. It's a basic principle that obviously the globe is big, but at the end it's a small world. So these things were done extremely well. And also what I think also now talking in our marketing channels and tools, Alexei mentioned IMEX and IPDM, two really European important trade shows, marketplaces actually more than a trade show, to understand, to be visible there, to add on. So I think it's a continuous effort which brings you to the phase in your journey as you are now. So I think, as Henrik said, it is an incredible good start you did, and you can build on that further. And so I think this is for me the summary in more than 2 words, where I would think that the destination Russia has done tremendously well over the last 2 years.
Excellent. Thank you, Ivo.
Can I add?
Would you like to comment?
Yeah, I said, however, I mean, these trademark events taking place, they are important to put the Russia on the map, or the global map of events and business events. However, I think you also should remember that this is good to do that, to have these amazing, like the FIFA, the Olympics, the economical forums in Vladivostok, in Sochi, and St. Petersburg, which I experienced in St. Petersburg. It was an absolutely amazing experience for me. But the major part of association business events and also corporate business events, we talk about 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 800 people. And that is the major bread and butter business for any destination in the world. You need to have the big ones to be visible, but then you need the smaller ones, or smaller, to actually get to help the destinations to develop within the areas they want to develop. If it's agriculture, or is it food processing, or it's energy, whatever it is. You need this kind of knowledge sharing in your destination to actually grow.
Excellent.
Can I add, Timothy? Can I add
go ahead,
Alexei, as well? Just briefly, to my mind, we don't need to limit us of Moscow, St. Petersburg, Yekaterinburg, Krasnodar, and Sochi. So the most famous destinations in globe. We have to explain to our other regions some advantages of this situation. Why it's very important to be a host city or host destination for different kind of events, and they have to understand. And with these strategies, with this marketing strategy, it is it is like an additional tool to explain them why it's important, not for us, for them first.
You've got a comment, yes?
Yeah.
Please go ahead.
You. No, I'm finished.
Oh, okay, you're done. Now I'm going to pick on your comment about destinations other than St. Petersburg and Moscow. Now we can see from the ICCA ranking for 2019 that Valencia, for example, and Istanbul have shown excellent results, 44 points and 40 points higher, respectively, than the previous year. Now, what would it take for our destinations, other than Moscow and St. Petersburg, to make the same breakthrough, if that is achievable at all? Is it?
I think so. To whom it's question?
Alexei, to you, because I'm picking on your comment about destinations other than St. Petersburg and Moscow. So what is the breakthrough that our regions need to make to see the same success as Valencia and, for example, Istanbul for 2019, which are very high up in the ICCA ranking?
Yeah, thank you very much. Actually, it's a very, very good question. Actually, there is Russia also raised with the points, yeah, and now it's 35 level, 35th position in this ranking. But it's a very good question because there are two points of this. Of course, on the one hand, I guess, and it's to my mind, it's rightfully and correctly that it was our contribution to this as a Russian Convention Bureau, because we did a lot of work during the last 2 years, and actually we, rushed to the international market, and we cooperated with many international associations as well. And we bid for not many, but for some events to be host country for them. This is it's on the one hand. On the other hand, I guess it has been some changes in methodology of ICA ranking, I guess. And maybe this is another reason of this huge difference in compare with last year. Some positions of these regions or countries and so on. But in any case, it's a very, very good result for us as a country, and a very, very good perspective and motivation for our further development and for our further work. And we have to demonstrate to our members, to our regions, to our officials at least, that it works. It works, but it works only when everybody are contributing, when everybody are joined in this activities and in this process.
Okay.
Can I add?
Please, Henry.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to go into every destination, and they are there. It's up. Every destination has an up and down when it comes to the ICA ranking. So don't get too much into this ICA ranking. But just for when it comes to Istanbul, it's a very natural thing. Istanbul was one of top 10 until the what happened on the bridge a couple of years ago, and they lost 75% of the business within a couple of months. Boom, gone. And then you see the trend of Istanbul. They are starting climbing up again. So it's kind of fragile industry, and this is and I also see the Valencia thing. It's partly, which is very good for the other destinations in Russia, that second-tier cities are much more in need for nowadays. You are okay. The big cities, they've been there, have their shares of the association market, but now you're looking into other kinds of second-tier cities, smaller than the capitals of the city, of the countries. So that is maybe an explanation what would happen to Valencia. And I would also add that we talk about this business event industry as it's we can live on our own. We cannot. We are a product of what's happening in the regions, what the needs are in the regions to gather people to discuss politics, business, knowledge sharing, and we are the oil in the machinery. Without the rest of the society actually having the need to meet, the business events industry is nothing. So I wouldn't say we are not an industry of our own, on our own greatness. We are a part of many different knowledge segments and industry segments. And that is, again, what Ivo started with. This is beyond tourism. The business events industry is helping destinations to develop, not as such, but as a part of what's happening in the destinations otherwise.
Henrik, before we give the floor to someone else, now you mentioned that Russia brand is more of a perception than reality. Well, we can agree or disagree, but what is the vision? Or Alexei, what might be the vision for the sort of brand decentralization to regions? And effectively, what steps could Russia Convention Bureau or its members, mainly members, what steps could they take to develop and promote brands of their own?
I think,
as I understood you right, you asked me because it's not stable. I don't know why, but as I understood you right, you asked me about the perception of our brand and local brands as well, right?
Yes, that's correct. But I want Henrik to comment on that first, because it was his thesis that Russia brand is more of a perception than a reality. Could you elaborate on that and give us some hope for decentralized branding?
I would say today Russia it's not unknown, but not that many people in Europe has actually been into Russia. We have not experienced Russia in place. I mean, we visited the FIFA and the Olympics, etc. But we haven't maybe not the real feeling what is Russia on an ordinary day. You see the big events, and that is Russia, and that is the destination to take part of that. And I think you need to keep a one voice from Russia to be more acknowledged, be aware of Russia as such. And I think the best thing that the destinations, the regions can do is actually to be visible, also to have, Pavlo mentioned it before, we have to go out there and meet the people. It's not a big campaigns. It's about meeting people and making other people in other countries understand who are we. I think that is and what can we offer you, not just in infrastructure, but what can we offer you in motivational things? Why do we need your association meeting, corporate meeting in our destination? Just because we can give you this. We have this knowledge we are ready to share. It's not about that we have a hotel or a venue, etc.
Yeah,
I think
motivational things. Yeah. Just to build on that, Alexei, motivational things. Could you click on that?
Yeah, can I continue? I have the same opinion, the same point of view as Henrik mentioned. But what's mean one voice? It means that we have to promote ourselves. I mean, our country. We have to represent our regions through the one point of through the one-stop contact, as we are, for example, a Russian Convention Bureau, and we have to represent and promote ourselves, that we are the whole country, we are diversity country with the regions which have its own features, but we are the one country, one voice, and we created, as you know, in the beginning of our activities, we created this slogan, Russia open to the world. And we used it almost everywhere, at our stands during the exhibitions, international exhibitions, at our meetings, at our fan trips, and everywhere. And now, till now, the most people, our target audience from international associations, they can recognize Russia open to the world. It's not like it's associates with concrete activities and concrete organization, Russian Convention Bureau. So that means it's one-step contact for them, and that means they can get more detailed information about some destinations they want to be to organize some events from their side.
Thank you, Alexei.
But it's not enough, of course. It's not enough. Yep. Sorry for interrupting you. It's not enough, and of course we have to continue our activities. And I would like to add something to your previous question. Why we invited our colleagues from abroad? It's also it's another way to assess some results of our activities on the international market, to get some assessment from them, and we got it.
Okay, thank you, Alexei. Now, for the previous remark about the one voice and one message concept, how is that seen from the regions? Alexander, and after that, Pavel, how do you see that concept from within the regions? What could be the one message and one voice to promote Russia and give some motivation for the global market, to invite them to Russia as the most, or as a very attractive site for business events? Alexander? Thank you, Alexander. Pavel, would you like to comment and also try and answer the question, what are the main obstacles for Russian regions to break through and find themselves in the global market of business events?
Right. Well, first of all, I mean, the one voice concept is a right concept for Russia right now, but we have to understand that there's 85 regions of Russian Federation, which makes it absolutely impossible to unite voices of 85 regions into one strategy, at least within some reasonable time, 3 to 5 years. It's absolutely impossible to make one voice out of 85. Therefore, I think that there might be no need in that, and I think that a few regions should concentrate their efforts together with Russian Convention Bureau in order to make one voice concept live. Because on the other hand, you will not be successful in trying to promote yourself as a region separately or apart from the rest of Russia. I know that Tatarstan is trying to do that, but it will be not really successful to do that a part of the rest of Russia. So we really need to get our efforts from top 5 or top 10, maximum top 12 or top 15 regions that really need to promote themselves in the MICE area. I don't think that all out of 85 regions really need to focus on promoting themselves on the convention market. And we have to understand that we're not United States of America, for example. We cannot make our own promotions like California or Texas or New York just because they are really separate and unique regions of United States, and we are a little different country. So I think that maybe Russian Convention Bureau should focus on getting together a specific number of regions and try to make the regional governments pay attention to this work and having such a great opportunity, because I know that a lot of decision makers from our region and from other regions of Russian Federation having this possibility. I would like to ask Ivo and Henrik to emphasize one or two messages to the regional government on what specific instrument should be working in the region in order to be successful in getting this into this concept of one voice in Russia. Because I know that in Sverdlovsk there is a regional convention bureau is working successfully, but in Krasnodar region, even though that we have a very good infrastructure, we don't have a regional convention bureau. So I think that this is a great possibility for you guys to emphasize for the decision makers that what specific instruments should be working in the region to be a part of this system.
Well, it's a very good practical comment, and we'll just remember it for a second. Yeah. And I will want to get back to this question when I ask another question of to Alexei. In the meantime, Henrik, did you have a comment?
No, I'm just saying.
Oh, you just your thumbs up. Yeah, excellent. Yep. Now, I did want to bring back Ivo to the spotlight and remember another global context that we're living through today, which is COVID-19. Hence my question. What, Ivo, or after that, Henrik, how do you think will COVID-19 play out at the event industry globally, and what changes are we going to see in the global event landscape? Are there any perhaps new front runners that will emerge? And as a result, how could Russia capitalize on that, considering that crisis is not just a threat, but also an opportunity of some sort?
Thank you, Timothy, for asking that question. I absolutely agree with you with your last comment. I also always see, and this is a proven fact, even so COVID-19 might be a situation we in our lifetime have not really any experience before. And we human beings, you know, we are all very bad in looking into the future. We all need references from the past to somehow, hopefully, define the future. So the lack of that now makes it a unique situation. But in general, I think we have seen crises before, driven by economy, driven by war, driven by any other means. And I agree, it is a challenge, but it opens up opportunities. And we see in our industry now, looking at past the 6-8 weeks we are all in and being connected, at least in Europe and global and listened to, is I think, this is my personal opinion, but I think it's a really great opportunity to rethink, review and rethink how our industry will look like. But the key fact is we should not wait for somebody else telling us how our industry will look like in the future. It's up to us to define that. And it takes a certain, you know, bold step. It takes a certain risk. In Spain, you say you have to break eggs to make an omelet. So basically what I see now is that the future potential of our industry will not be diminished. COVID-19 acts as an accelerator of changes, but not as an initiator of changes. This whole wonderful world of a virtual world we are now in it will not disappear again whenever we are able again to meet live, because that's our core, our DNA of our industry. But of course, events will be defined differently. Events will suddenly be more integrated virtual elements and so forth. So this is about how events are going to be designed in the future. From a destination point of view, I firmly believe that, and that sounds maybe a little bit funny, but COVID-19 has leveled the playing field. Suddenly, there's no big ones anymore, and you know, experienced one anymore, and there are the up and coming ones, whatever destination we have been using. I think now everybody is again at a starting gate or a starting point. And the smart ones, I call them the smart destinations, regardless whether they have been successful for the last 30 years or are just up and coming and have been on the market as a player for the last 2-3 years. The smart destination will define the future and will recover first. And by being smart, one critical, and I've been always talking about that for years almost, is when we finally rethink our purpose as a destination and our value proposition towards our clients. When we stop selling a destination to square meters and capacities and accessibilities and hospitality elements, but rather understand that all these clients, what do they really need when they design and define a business event? It's about communication. So we are much more creating platforms of communication, enabling communication with all the tools we have in a destination. And of course, venues and places and authenticity is part of it. But then we suddenly would have a chance to talk to these new clients out there who understand now at the moment, you know, where can I go next? And those destinations starting to do that will be definitely coming out in front. So I think it's a great, great opportunity. And COVID-19, as sad, I mean, as from a human perspective, as sad and bad and unbelievable it is, but as it does, it simply gives also opportunities. And I think the business events industry has now a great opportunity.
I like your optimistic view. Does anybody else want to reflect on that? Because I've got quite a few questions specifically addressed to Alexei.
To finish up to continue the topic of COVID-19, it is really interesting whether the strategy which was developed by your company, did you put any amendments or corrections into that strategy, having the today's circumstances? But also another idea which came up to me is that right now everything in the world is closed, which makes the motto of Russian Convention Bureau, Russia open to the world, it makes it very, very timely, very on time, because and if you look at the map, Russia is obviously the biggest country in the world. So in the times when everything is closed, we have to show the world that we are open and we are the meeting point for the entire world. We are like, it's sort of like you're sitting in the flat or in your house, and everyone is sitting in their houses, sitting in their countries, and there is a big square, big, nice, beautiful square in the center of all the houses, which you finally can get out and meet with the people. So I think that this comparison with the meeting point, with a big square, could be a good comparison, and that's when Russia is really open to the world. We should change.
Great point.
Open.
Great point. Anybody else on that? Because I do have the questions that I will want to address Alexei. They came through our internal chat, and they have to do with the Russia situation.
Do we have any questions at chat, or can you see or not?
Yes. I was going to say that I have a few questions that are probably for you, Alexei. One of them is the comment. Rather, the comment is, I think our guest called Olga says, I think the potential of Russia has to be discovered from within needs of clients without necessarily promoting regions, no matter how good they are, how much respect we have for them. Does that make sense, Alexei? Do you want to comment on that?
Actually,
it says Russia's potential has to be promoted based on needs of a client without necessarily promoting regions, no matter how good they are.
No, we have to promote ourselves. We have to promote our potential, of course, with regions' participation. And we have to promote some features of regions. And we have to, you know, that a few months ago, we began our project of regional passports creation, and it includes all necessary information about Russian regions, including infrastructure, transport, availability, and gastronomical maps, and so on. And the main point of this is an industrial specialization of the concrete regions. And of course, we have to demonstrate our potential and regional potential with concrete regions participation. So in globally. So.
Okay. Okay. One other comment. More. Go ahead. That's a good point, Henry. Yeah. Do you want to comment, Henry or Ivo?
I can do that. I think it's a twofold thing. You need to be aware of a place, a region, or a country, and maybe not in detail, but you need to understand how people think, how the people are acting, and getting used to that. I think that is extremely. I've been working for Gothenburg and Stockholm Convention Bureaus for many years. And it's the same there. If you go into destination, you get people into a destination, say Stockholm, or you go into Russia, and then it's up to the client to say, my needs are these. I need a place where I can meet with people. I need this kind of knowledge. I need this kind of structure of industry. And then it's up to a convention bureau, a national convention bureau, say, okay, if you have that, if you need, these are your needs. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 destinations in Russia who can actually meet your needs. And then it's up to the clients, okay, I would like to look deeper into that. And having contact with these destinations and say, okay, that's a good one, that doesn't have the right knowledge cluster that we need actually for our business event. So, but these two can be fine, and then it's about the end. It's a bidding from these two destinations against towards the association. So it's that you need to start making awareness of a country and the people and the authenticity, how you are, how you work, the overall general knowledge level, how you work actively with health and security and politics in a country to feel comfortable to go to that country. And that's for Sweden, that's for Austria, Russia, whatever. And then you can go into okay, now you feel comfortable with our area, with our destination as such. Okay, what are your specific needs? And then you come down to the regional or the destination, because it is, as you say, Alexander, it is a destination against destination in the end, who's fighting for association meetings anyway, and corporate meetings as well, I would say. So yes, you're right.
Yes.
I would like to add, Timofey, to this. Just a few comments from my side. Actually, on the one side, we are, the regions in Russia, there are competitors, okay, of course. But in framework of our cooperation with regions, and till now we signed almost 20 agreements with the governors, and we have to define which and to get some information from them, from the regions. What potential do they have, and what we can promote outside? Because there are many different events we are trying to involve, and in this regard, we have to understand which region have affordable infrastructure for concrete events, and we have to demonstrate it to our potential organizers, to our associations, and we are not the competitors. Russian Convention Bureau and regional convention bureaus. We just one-stop contact for you, for the regions. And when we bid, and for example, when we are involving some events to Russia, we are doing it on behalf Russian Federation, including concrete proposal about concrete regions, So it means that we are working together. It does mean that we are separately. We are one team, we are one one country. So that was my additional to some Henrik's comments about Alexander's question.
Henrik, I think you wanted to comment
again. Again, I think this is going to change a bit over time. The Russian Convention Bureau is now the focal point for a lot of international associations and corporations. They know about that there is a Russian Convention Bureau. That's a door opening to the rest of Russia. In a few years, I think there will be a change in how the Convention Bureau is working, because then the individual regions, the individual destinations have starting their own connections all over the world and having their own contacts in associations and corporations. And then might be like the Russian Convention Bureau will be a supporting partner much more and saying, okay, we help with knowledge sharing, with information, with material, project management of exhibitions, etc., and not that much of a selling point. That will be on the regions and destinations. So I think there will be a journey where you're going to see a slight change of the responsibility from the Russian Convention Bureau and more into the regional convention bureaus or regional business development regions.
One very good question I think I have on this chat. Does your strategy imply any initiatives to work with international mass media to promote Russia as a destination? Who wants to answer the question?
If I may?
Yep.
I think regarding all the communication, the classical PR and communication in the media world, I think when you talk about mass media, I think our industry is very much, again, focused on people-to-people's business, and that also relates to how the specialized media we have in our industry works. I think to create a general awareness, a certain brand for, again, a destination, yes, you can use all kind of channels of classical communication, including certain part of mass media, but specifically for and that goes more into the touristic part of a destination, versus our industry, again, here is very clearly defined that you have a good number, I'm not saying only 3, 4, but maybe 10, 20, 30 media publisher who are working in our industry with our industry, and these are by far the most important sources of multiplying your message, of creating the channel, being the channel of creating that visibility and awareness. I don't think it makes sense to buy, big advertising in the London Times or in the wherever international mass media. I think it's much more effective to use these specialized channels. So yes, it is necessary, but again, focusing on our industry in the message.
Okay, thank you. Now, Alexei, one question asking whether Russia Convention Bureau is planning, or what work is it doing to together with the local regions, which do not, local governments rather, regional governments, which do not see or do not understand the potential within event industry in their regions. Well, they call it MICE, within MICE specifically, but I would set a larger context, event industry at large. So what does National Convention Bureau do to work with the regional governments, convince them so that they start seeing the potential for event industry in their regions? Alexei, specifically to you, this question from Irina.
Thank you, Timofey. Actually, we are looking forward to work with all regions of Russian Federation, of course, but it's impossible if you understand the numbers of these regions. And the principle we took 2 years ago to work with the regions which are in the top 30 of rating, which provides from research and consulting agency of the Russian Federation. And this is the main focus of us. And as I said before, we signed till now 20 agreements with, so this equal 20 regions, and we started to work with them. But I have to mention that some of them are proactive and some of them not active with in our cooperation together. But we there are, you know, till now there are around 10 regions which are cooperating with us very close. And what does it mean? There are several ways of our cooperation. The first way, we are supporting them with regional convention bureau establishment. And there are some good examples already. Krasnodar and Yekaterinburg, of course, they were their own initiative, but we provided some tools and advices from our side. Did it help or not? It's up to you guys from Krasnodar, and I mean Pavel and Alexander, but I guess it works. The other way, the next way, we promote our regions abroad. I mean, when we organizing exhibition stands, national exhibition stands, in framework of minimum two main exhibitions of our industry, IMEX and IBTM. We have started a project. I said it already before. Regional passports, and actually we finalized Krasnodar regional passport and Sverdlovsk regional passport, and announced about that a few weeks ago. Actually, also through online, because before we planned to introduce it during Russian investment forum in Sochi in February, but due to coronavirus, we couldn't do it. There are many. If continue with regions cooperation, the third way, we preparing and we are cooperating with mass media, but not mass media. I mean professionals media. Ivo said before, and we're trying to promote ourselves and our regions to the target audience. First of all, to the international associations. We provide information about Russian regions using another and using different tools through online, through internet, through our website, and so on. So we are trying to work close with our regions, but you know, it's very important. It should be some initiative and wish from themselves as well, because it doesn't work when it's one-way road. It works when it's two ways, yeah, road, and it's very important to get some feedback from our regions as well, and in framework of our cooperation.
Thank you very much, Alexei. I hope that question is taken by those who asked. Your answer is taken by those who asked the question. Now, I think there is time to wrap up, unless perhaps Henry or Pavel, unless you have any comments. We have exceeded our deadline, and it's time to wrap up and draw some conclusions.
Well, as for me, the only thing that I would like to emphasize, and if colleagues would support me, that would be great, is that please send a message also to the regional government as well as to the regional government of the Krasnodar region, because we still don't have a regional convention bureau, and all that we discuss and the strategy, the wonderful and great and very useful strategy that is prepared, we will not be able to implement it unless we have a very clear structure of all the companies, of all the entities which are involved into the mice industry. And I think that Russia's specialty is that we are not able to do any result without having regional convention bureau. Otherwise, it is just not working as a general system. But as for the rest, I agree with everything being said above, and thank you for this great opportunity.
Well, clearly, anybody else?
И компании ENITED Business Events мы получили сейчас этот доклад. У нас появился новый взгляд со стороны, мы можем это использовать в своей работе. Хенрик сказал одну важную вещь. Он сказал, что здесь главное — это долгосрочные личные взаимоотношения. Мы сейчас, конечно, находимся в самом начале пути. Да, мы находимся еще уже не на этапе проникновения на рынок, мы находимся на этапе развития рыночной стратегии. Мы надеемся, что наше сотрудничество с международными экспертами продолжится. Мы продолжим работать с другими регионами, с Национальным конгресс-бюро. И последний момент, который я хотел отметить. Конечно, очень трудно сотрудничать сразу со всеми 85 регионами. Алексей про это сказал. Екатеринбург, например, является центром Уральского округа. В России есть несколько таких крупных административных округов. И помните, мы выступали с предложением, что мы готовы быть вашим представителем и как бы объединить соседние регионы в области проведения международных мероприятий. Но мы считаем, что это было бы хорошим решением. Таким образом, подключить регионы, региональные власти, региональную инфраструктуру, региональных участников на этом рынке. Спасибо. Спасибо, Александру. Ну что же.
Russia Convention Bureau. It's a great bridge between the doers and the practitioners and the regional governments. And we clearly see the achievements which we need to recognize and celebrate. Achievements for Russia, not just the ECA ranking for 2019, but all the work that has been done in the past few years, and that work and more work needs to be done, of course. And I'm sure that Russia Convention Bureau is set to do greater achievements. Also, we need to recognize from today's discussion, and not just from today's discussion, but from all the work that has been done by Hendrik personally, by Eva and their company, that we have great experts, and we need to build on your expertise further. And I invite you, colleagues, Hendrik and Eva, to take in the regional recommendations that came from Alexander, I think, and Pavel, And maybe of course, we realize that the strategic report that we have is not something that is to be completed for good. That it's a vibrant creature. It will be developed further as we go on, because as one of the colleagues pointed out, we did not predict some difficulties and even crises that we're facing today. So as we go on, we will work hand in hand with you further. And I would like to personally thank Alexei Kalachёv, who has been a very diligent leader of the Russia Convention Bureau. And I think that it's really a great advantage to all the regions that are receiving benefit from the work of Russia Convention Bureau. I'd like to thank once again all the participants. I'd like to particularly thank our interpreter, Vladimir Demidov, who has been on air for good 2 hours. And I'm sure that thanks to Vladimir, our Russian-speaking audience could understand all the subtleties of our discussions. And thank you very much for being with us. Stay tuned with Russia Convention Bureau. Every Thursday we are on air for you, and let's carry on working. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. But a few words from my side. Is it possible yet or not?
Of course, of course.
Yeah. I would like to thank you very much. Thank you all for your participation today, and special thanks to our experts, Henrik and Tibor, for your contribution and for your participation and for your work with Russian Convention Bureau. It was very interesting and very useful for us to cooperate with you, and I'm looking forward to work with you for a long time, because it's really, really very interesting. And of course, we understand it, and we talk about every day that we are living during the challenging times, but sometimes I hope it will finish, and but most probably it will be a new world. In any case, a new world from different sides, but and we have to be prepared for that. And as for Russian Convention Bureau, so as for our contribution to industry development, event industry development, we are considering a new project, new tool to support our members to our regions, and we are considering a summer academy, and to start in June, maybe a little bit later. It's a continuing question from Alexander. So it's not only it's a way of our cooperation together with the regions. So I think it would be very useful for you, for your companies from Sverdlovsk region, from Krasnodar region, and from many other regions as well, to join us and to improve themselves. I think during this time it's very, very important, because there are many new things we have to get. And as for the strategy, we have to understand that in spite of it's based on 3 regions, it does mean that it's a Krasnodar marketing strategy or Sverdlovsk marketing strategy. We will use it for many of regions, for the most regions we are working with. And so just for not for your understanding, guys, it's just for our participants' understanding, because in spite of it was based on these regions, it does mean that it's 3 regions marketing strategy. Thank you again for your contribution. Thank you again for your time. Thank you again for your thoughts and opinions. And stay with us. Thank you.
And apologies for not being such a good timekeeper today. This is the first time that has ever happened during the conference, but we had a very substantial discussion and I couldn't interrupt. So thank you very much. All the best.
Thank you for a great
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Bravo. Thank you. Bye.